Okay, episode 6, Lane 1 Talk Show. Phil here with my co-host Mark. We are going to get into some Olympic trials and talking about Boston Indoor. Mark, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, man. It's been a while since I've seen you. I feel
Yeah.
like we've been on the go.
Yep.
Really happy to catch up, see how everything's been with you, man. Just want to kick things off. How's life been since the trials? How have these last 4 days been?
It's been a whirlwind. We went to Disneyland on Monday and Tuesday after the trials. So marathon Saturday, Sunday rest day, Disney World, Orlando, Florida. All day Monday, all day Tuesday, fly home Wednesday, and now back to work on Thursday. Now it's Friday. I'm feeling better. I was in rare form. My body was definitely hurting after that marathon. But I'm feeling better every day. I went and got a massage. Saw our boy Andy tonight.
Hey, shout out Andy.
Shout out Andy. So I feel a lot better after that. And yeah, I'm probably going to see him and maybe Scott next week and try to get the body going again here soon.
Yeah, dude. How was it at Disney World? Did you do fast passes? How did your body hold up? Because that sounds kind of tough.
Oh, fast pass is the way to go. It's called, what is it called now? It's called Lightning Lane. So you got to get Genie Plus. It's all in the app. You get these Genie Plus passes and you can go straight to the front. It's the only way to do it. It's especially with a 4-year-old, Calvin, waiting 90 minutes in a line for It's a Small World. Would have been tough.
It's a Small World.
Yeah, but we went on It's a Small World, but we had a Lightning Lane pass and we went right to the front. So yeah, pro tip, all the parents out there, anyone who wants to go to Disney, you got to get the Lightning Lane. It's I don't know, like $20 a person.
Yeah.
But of course the premium rides, they charge you an additional to get a Lightning Lane for that. So I mean, Disney prints money, dude. They are a money printing machine.
Oh yeah, it's like how much is your time worth? Like how valuable is your time? Are you willing to stand there for 90 minutes, or are you going to pay $40 to stand there for 5?
I'm going to pay the $40, and we're going to get the most. We're going to get 10 rides in. We're going to do 3 parks in 2 days.
Yeah. Jeez, no kidding.
Yeah, but that was a lot of fun. Exhausting. A lot of, 2 phases of the trip, trials for 4 days and then 4 days at Disney and, with a day of travel on each end. So,
yeah.
We're settling back into the regular life. Yeah, overall it was a good trip.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Yeah, I've kind of just been training on my end. I've stayed super low key. Had a lot of quality Blake Molly time. I saw him yesterday and I saw him today. So that was
nice.
This is where are we at? February 8th or February 9th.
Yeah.
Today's Friday the 9th. Yeah, hung out with Blake Molly last 2 days. Shout out Blake. But a lot of
shout out Blake.
A lot of it has just been trying to stay dry, stay out of the rain.
Mm-hmm.
We had a tornado in Grover Beach on I think Tuesday. That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw that because I work in that area, and so everyone was talking about it. It was a real tornado.
Mm-hmm. Legit. It was, I guess, F1 is what they call it, but really small, but still. So we got tornadoes in California now. LA had a 5.7 earthquake or 4.7 earthquake today.
Had a 4.7 in LA.
In LA, yeah. Malibu.
Oh, I think I saw that. Where was it? Where was it epicentered?
Malibu.
Oh man.
Yeah, and then Hawaii had a 5.7 today. So we in the end times, man.
Yeah, we need Dwayne the Rock Johnson to come and save us.
I know, seriously, bro. San Andreas, shout out. But yeah, let's hop right into it. So
yeah, let's hear about. I want to hear about Boston. So we've been on a little bit of a hiatus because Mark was in Boston, then I was in Orlando, and so this is our first weekend back in the same town, back ready to record a pod. So I want to hear about your Boston experience.
Yeah, so let me hop right into that. We'll hop into Boston, then we'll talk a bit about the trials. But real quick, I went to the John Thomas Terrier Classic, and travel wasn't bad. It actually went super smooth. it's a long travel, so it's super rough. But I didn't get very bad weather. East Coast is very different from the West Coast, though. So I rolled up and I was freezing my butt off. It was 30 degrees out, 20 something degrees at night. And there I am walking down the street to Trader Joe's to grab my snacks for the next couple days.
Right.
So I'm over here freezing. You can tell who the California person is with the 3 jackets on, while everyone else, I think I seen someone running in a sports bra. And I'm over here in like a fur coat trying to stay warm.
Yep.
But that was my first indoor meet. And I got to be honest, that was a lot of fun. It felt like a freaking roller derby out there. A lot of high name, a lot of high name athletes that were out there too. Guys from OAC, guys from Under Armour Dark Sky, Nike guys. Spend a lot of time out there with the boy Craig, his buddy Matt, who's filming a documentary on him. So that's going to be released, I believe, after the Olympic trials. So that was a pretty cool experience, pretty cool to be a part of, doing pre-meet with them, shaking out, all that kind of stuff. And just having some friends out there to do the whole experience with. If not, I probably would have been by myself out there. Saw some of my friends from LA as well.
Running or fans or all of the above? Running?
Yeah, all running. I don't have fans, bro. I'm not that big yet. But all friends. Saw a lot of people that I knew out there. So environment was good because you see some fast times out there. You see Mile was 1 in 3:53. Couple highlights out there. Shout out Hoka sponsored athlete Adrian Wildscoot.
Yeah,
he's someone that's always kind of been a bridesmaid, never a bride. In terms of his NCAA career, he's a consistent top 5 finisher. Went to NAS Elite. He's South African. Wound up having the fastest time of the day, 12:56.
Yeah, I saw that. He's South African, right?
South African in Hoka spikes. Shout out the new Hoka, the new what are they called? Cielo flies. Damn, I really should know that. But yeah, really good spikes. I got to run in them too. Felt really good, really comfortable. Saw the collegiate record go down. In the 5K, Nico Young ran 12:57. That was an exhilarating crowd. Just everybody lined up in lane 8. They were allowing spectators on the actual track, and it was a freaking zoo in there.
Wow. Like where people were on the track?
In lane 8, yeah. People were on, or I guess not lane 8. What's the furthest out on an indoor track? Like 6?
Yeah, 6.
Yeah, something like that. But people sitting in lane 6 just screaming loud. It was a stadium in there. And being from California, we don't really experience that very much. So that was super exciting for me to be a part of.
Yeah.
But
was there anything you were there, you saw a lot of like, A-list running celebrities in the distance world. Yeah. Was there anything you saw that, them do in terms of their preparation, their racing, their, something that stood out in your mind? Like, when you see Nico Young or when you see, some of these, really fast people, was there anything that stood out in your mind in terms of like their preparation, their race, how they, got in the zone? Anything that you noticed?
Not really, man. I mean, it's not rocket science before you race. And like, we have the same routine as they do, stay relaxed before. In all honesty, I probably did a little too much day of the race.
Yeah.
In terms of like, for my shakeout, I shook out with Craig for his warm up because it was like 5 hours before mine. But all honesty, everyone's just kind of relaxing and no one's doing anything out of the ordinary. The only people that do anything out of the ordinary that I've seen is Andy Powell's boys. So like the UW guys and his sponsored guys like Kieran Lum. They do a lot of those Ethiopian drills. You know what I'm talking about? Where they're like you ever see those Instagram videos where they're all like in a line and they're doing all their plyometrics in sync, coordinated?
Yeah. So they do a lot of that.
They do that.
Yeah.
That was the only out of the ordinary thing. Other than that, people do their 12-minute warm up, minute on, minute off, hard 200s, like little bit at threshold, like that kind of stuff.
Well, that's, I mean, I guess, depending on what level you're at, like you may or may not be familiar with that, right? So a minute on, minute off, like and I think the idea behind that, a hard 400, hard 200 is like, because sometimes the first lap or the two laps can kind of like feel the worst because your heart rate is coming up. So is the idea to kind of get your heart rate a little elevated, so it's not as uncomfortable to start.
Yeah. So you get your heart rate higher. You get a little lactic acid going because, contrary to popular belief, like if you are running a middle distance event, you do want a little lactic acid in your legs.
Right.
You do want that little bit of buildup so that you don't have the term, I went lactic.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want that. You want your body to have already processed it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that was something that I see out there. Nothing
Yeah.
that was too crazy, but let me dive into a little bit about my stay there. So I stayed at a hotel, couple people that I saw. One of the guys from Under Armour Baltimore that I've raced with a couple times, John Renwicky, ran into him at my hotel. Andy Butchart was in my hotel too, very great guy. Hung out with him a little bit. Yeah, so overall it was a good stay. Had a good time there. My hotel it's really strange the way the Midwest hotels work because California for most of the part it's like kind of outside. A lot of it has to revolve around having like nice outdoor patios, nice outdoor pools.
Yeah.
A lot of it revolves around spending your time more outside. This looked like a dang apartment complex indoor. Like even from the outside, it just had like a glass outer shell.
Was it a hotel or an Airbnb?
It was a hotel.
It's a hotel. That's right. Okay.
Yeah, so they had like townhomes in the middle of the hotel. It was
Town
crazy.
in the middle of
Like
the
little,
hotel?
yeah, like little townhomes in the middle of the
Yeah.
hotel. It
That
was
sounds
cool.
very East Coast.
Yeah, super East Coast. But yeah, so I can get talking about my race a little bit. So did have a situation come up. So I'm warming up. The issue that I did have with Boston was how they went about the heats. So you didn't know what heat you were in until about like, unless if you're in the scarlet or the white heat, which were the people going under 13, which is not me. You did not know what heat you were in. In the mile, unless if you're an A-lister and you knew you're going to be in heat 1, you don't know what time your start time is. They told people as heats were going off what heat you're in. So what ended up happening for me was I was told I'm in heat 3. So I went to go warm up, did all my strides, everything, got my numbers, was literally getting taken onto the track. And then my hip number was 12. And they go, hey, 12, we moved you back a heat. And I was like, what? And I pulled up my phone. I'm like, no, look, I'm in this heat. I'm in heat 3. Look, I'm on heat 3. They're like, we have you starting here, heat 4. And I'm like, literally on the entry sheet, it says heat 3.
Now, were they fast to slow or slow to fast? For the
It was
heats?
fast to slow.
Fast to slow. Okay.
So I had no problem being in heat 4. The issue is it's not like a 1500 where you stand around
Right.
for 4 or 5 minutes. I stood around for 15 minutes.
15
I had
minutes.
already done like 8 to 10 strides. I had already done warm up 200s.
Yep.
I had done my full shakeout. Adrenaline is pumping. Like I'm gaming up mentally. Now all of a sudden I have a whole nother stressor. Did they get me in the right heat or like, are they going to let me race? So all of a sudden now I'm watching this heat go. There's only like 8 guys in it, 8 or 9 guys. So I'm standing there and now I can't do too many more strides because I'm really sensitive to that kind of stuff for my warm up. Very particular. But by the time it was time for my heat to go off, I was so flat. The stride stopped feeling poppy. Energy was gone. The stadium had cleared out because now it's like 8:30, 8:40 p.m. So now I'm lining up just raw, like I was going into a workout. Gun goes off and I'm like, okay, let's get a decent position. Let's be top third or like, middle of the pack, get comfortable. And I was like, oh, okay, we're going kind of quick. 33.9, 34, 34.1. And I'm like, oh, shoot. Like, all right, you are flat as a pancake. Okay, let's just try to keep moving up, try to keep picking them off. And I kept moving up, but fell asleep at the wheel a little bit. And a gap wound up opening up. There was like maybe a pack of 6 people and then me leading a chase pack. So I inherently soloed a 14:05 because I just led that chase pack until a K to go. Literally from like the mile to the last K, I ran by myself.
Oh man, that's tough.
So, yeah. Tough. So all things considered, I'll say good opener. That is the fastest I've opened up.
Yeah.
And to put it into perspective, when I ran the season, I ran all my PBs. I did the 3K at AG, the one you hosted.
Oh yeah,
Rio Grande High School. I 821 full bore, all out pacer as hard as I could. And I ran 821. This time around, I split 821 or 823, something like
Yeah.
that. And I went another mile.
And you were 6 weeks earlier. You're January 26th instead of March 12th or whatever. Like,
Yeah. Like
so,
damn near 2 months earlier.
yeah. So,
And so I think all things considered, good starting spot.
Yeah, I think it's a great starting spot. And we were tracking you, we were following along, and we all, I think that was a Friday night, right?
Yeah.
And so we had practice the next day. We were talking about it, Silas and Joe and me, and I don't remember if Dougie was there. He might have been golfing, but we were all kind of just like, yeah, that's going to be Mark's 10K pace this spring. It was just kind of the general consensus. With opening up with a solid, because you probably, what grade would you give yourself that race?
I would give it a B minus.
B minus, yep. So we're running a B minus, 14:05. You traveled well. You go. I always look at other intangibles, right? You're going to the East Coast, different time zone. You're racing at 8:30 Eastern time, 5:30 local time. You handled your eating and your fueling and all that stuff. So that's got to give you some confidence as well.
Yeah, I think the reason why I give it a B minus too is not necessarily because of the time. Like I'm okay with 14:05. I think the reason more so why I would rate it so lower is because, had the issues with warming up, had the issues with the check-in. Two, for me, I'm a big rust buster person. So a conversation I've always had is I always suck on my opener because I'm getting used to what it's like to hurt again. And a lot of times you're hesitant to hurt again until late in the race, right? So part of me feels, looking back at it, I felt I could have dug a lot deeper earlier into that race, maybe with like a mile to go. I felt like I finished, like I didn't have a wicked finish or anything, but I felt like I finished having more in the tank than I wanted. I felt like I could have kicked harder.
Right.
I felt like if I really wanted to, I could have dug harder and I could have fought for maybe, had I been with the pack of people. Because, for example, like I said, I was leading a chase pack. And once I got passed by a couple people in those chase packs, we wound up running about a second per lap faster per 200. Like I dropped from running 34 ones down to like 32 nines. No problem. It wasn't even a thought to shift those gears.
Yeah.
So for me thinking, maybe had I dug a little deeper, maybe had I have a little bit more of that dog in me, I probably realistically could have ran 5 to 10 seconds faster, no problem.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and it takes reps. It takes, races to unlock that, to really drain the tank. I think you have to have a few races under your belt, right?
yeah, you have to remember what it's like going through the motions of the warm up, going
Mhm.
through the motions of how you're supposed to feel in the first lap, first mile, how to respond. Because now it's one of those things where, like, okay, if I go through 200 feeling crappy, what are you going to do? Okay, you're not going to be able to close the gap next time around, so you better get your butt to the front right away, because you better start moving up. You better start closing every gap. You don't have time to mess around because you're not going to feel good enough if you get into no man's land. Because one thing to consider when you're tactically racing, if they're running 66s in the front, you have to be running a 65 or 65 point to close the gap. Like you have to be running faster than they are. You like looking at those splits when that gap opened up, I was running 66s like on the nose, which is 13:45 pace. But the thing was they're running the same pace. So had I just closed that gap sooner when we're running 33 highs, I would have been there. And I probably would have ran a lot faster. And that's part of the reason I give myself a bad grade. It's just like I ran tactically poor. I didn't dig, but I still got a decent time.
Right.
I basically did a glorified workout. So this is what my college coach used to call, you ran in the race, you didn't race. You ran. You didn't compete. And that's essentially what I felt I did.
Yeah.
Ran.
Yeah. Now, one thing I'm curious of is you're a SoCal. We're both SoCal guys. We don't have indoor in California. How was the positioning? How was the sort of how did the race play out in comparison to a big outdoor 400-meter track indoor banked? Banked? Is that banked?
Yeah, it was banked.
Banked. How was the physicality of it? that sort of thing.
I think the passing is what was different. So when you pass, you're more privy to cutting people off. So if you pass somebody, you were getting pushed in the back. Nope. Like without a doubt. Or if someone passed you, you were pushing them in the back. Just because it's such a tighter turn and it's such a shorter straight that when they passed, usually outdoor you have time. So if I make a move coming off the bend outdoor, I have 100 meters to get comfortable. Versus here, you have maybe 30 meters to get comfortable because you're coming off the bend and then you're getting onto a bend right away. So a lot of people would pass coming off the bend, but they're not going fast enough to where, that bank comes off super steep. They're not moving fast enough to where they're creating space between you and them. So every time someone passed, it was a shove in the back. No problem. Or it was a clip on the spike. So that was
a lot more contact.
Yeah, a lot more contact. But looking in the miles, that's a lot more physical because you're going faster and there's less time to react.
Right.
And the 5K, I was in a heat where people were there. 5Ks, there's a little more of a gentleman's agreement. We're here to run fast. So don't do anything stupid. That's kind of the gentleman's agreement when you're time trialing in a 5K or a 10K. Versus the mile, it's always a race. Even if you're there to run fast, like you being in fourth versus being in second is the difference between you having the chance to kick and win or you having the chance to kick and get top 5. Because you look at those guys' closing splits, it's crazy to see because like Craig got third with the 27-2. Like the winner won by a pretty like decent margin and he closed in a 27-1.
Yeah, because if you're, like you were saying earlier, if you're, say, 1.5 seconds back at the bell, you could still close in a full second faster and not win.
Yeah, and you're still far back.
Like a half second indoor, I feel like is noticeable.
Oh, 100%. Because that was one thing that I thought about too, the mental aspect of racing. I saw myself a whole straight back or less than a straight back the entire time, but it looked so much more daunting because it was only 30 meters that I was back from that chase back or from that front pack, but it looked so daunting because it was almost a full straight.
Yeah.
Versus if you're outdoor, 30 meters is a part of the bend.
It's not even, you're not even at the top of the turn, like, yeah.
But here they're hitting the bend and I'm barely not even midway through the straight. So a lot of it is more of those mental games.
Right.
So it's a lot. And that's part of the thing that I was kicking myself. It's just the inexperience there. It's like, you could have closed that gap.
Yeah. It's, you had a very high quality rest buster, right?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, overall, good trip, good experience. Definitely going back next year.
Awesome.
Except I think I need a full indoor season. I want to hit like UW Husky early on. Then I want to go to BU, and then I want to hit the Valentine meet next year. This time around, me and Joe just agreed, it was $1,000 trip. Hoka cover. I get a lot of that covered, but also, I want to have some budget left for in case I do want to go anywhere else later in the year. January is super early to blow through a lot of my budget of that Hoka gives us. But overall, I think it would have been okay. Go to Valentine, maybe run 10 seconds faster, maybe 15 seconds faster, or I can just put my head down and train a little bit more. So me and Joe agreed on put head down and train a little bit more.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, last thing I have to ask, is the track boosted?
The track is boosted.
Is boosted? Okay.
That track is dirty.
Okay.
That track is dirty, dude.
Now it's not super high tech. It's like wooden, right?
Well, that is what makes it nice. Is it is a wooden track built on like a gym type surface. So what you get from that is you get a trampoline type of effect. To where 30 seconds is the optimal stride to where you don't lose rhythm if you're going at that rhythm. So that is the easiest place to break 4 in the mile for all the people that want to break 4. If you're ever going to do it anywhere, it's at BU. And to get your 5K PBs, it's at BU. It is such a fast track. It feels so nice. And for a lot of people that tell me indoors not fun, Craig Huff, Indoor is a lot of fun. I had a great time out there.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Well, good job, man.
Yeah, thank you. But all right, so we took a pretty good amount of time talking about Boston. But the biggest story of this past weekend, the reason we have not been able to record in a long time, because our definition is keep the main thing the main thing. That is the Olympic trials, the Marathon Olympic Team Trials qualification meet out in Orlando, Florida. So first off, I want to kick things off with Phil. How was the race?
Oh boy. Yeah, that was a thank you. Thank you for that. But yes, the race was great. I mean, I think the course was good. The course was very similar to our tempo course. I think our tempo course was slightly more challenging. But there were some sneaky rollers, but I wouldn't call it hilly. And the it was a pretty flat loop course, but it wasn't like too many loops. It wasn't like that, like the McGurdy mini marathon was like a bunch of like 3-mile loops.
Yeah.
This one was, 3 big loops. It was yeah, so they brought us up right from the athlete check-in. And they brought us out there 9:45. The race started at 10:10, and they had 3 levels of like athlete. They had the top 6, which they featured, so that was the favorites and like
Yeah.
Galen and them. And then there was everybody. This group 2 was everyone who had the 2:11:30 standard or better, and then everyone else behind that. So they segmented us. But what was really cool is that they had us partitioned, but with like 2 or 3 minutes before the race, they took the ropes away and we just all pushed forward. So it wasn't like Houston when I was like 10 meters back from the start.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too bad.
Yeah. Hold on. Before you get to the actual race itself, I'm going to interrupt you there because I want you to talk about the whole lead up to the race, because you get off the plane that first night there. I'm seeing you guys taking pictures with the trolls. I'm seeing you guys at a concert. I'm seeing people with drinks. Paint the picture for the audience. What was that whole experience like from start to finish? What can you expect? Not that every trials does it this way, but what was it like leading into the race? Because that must be overwhelming a little bit too, because you're there to try to focus to compete, but they have all this side stuff going on. What kind of amenities, what kind of show did they put on for you guys when you got there?
They did put on a show, and one of the things that I did kind of want to just touch on briefly is I do work at a high school, and what I think was really cool right before we left is all my students, not all the students in the school, but a lot of students together put together posters, and they had little shoes, and they had like "Good luck, Mr. Reed," "Good luck, Coach Reed," and they made me posters, and people had bought my merch, Team Reed merch, which if you're listening, I'm wearing on this episode. And we took a big picture, and like it was really nice welcome the Tuesday before I left on Wednesday. So that was awesome. That was a good send off. Travel all day Wednesday, get there Thursday. They had this amazing athlete welcome at Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida. It was VIP. Like, I mean, you've been to Universal City Walk, right, Mark? Like in Hollywood. So City Walk is like the free, it's shops and it's restaurants and it's a lot of cool attractions, but it's not like the rides, right? It's like it's like a cool mall.
Yeah, it's like a cool outdoor mall. Yeah,
it's a cool outdoor mall. So they have a City Walk there, but it's a river walk. And we get there and the buses unload us. We had shuttle buses from the host hotel to Universal Studios, and we get off the bus, and they have people waving us through City Walk. So you have to go through City Walk to get to Universal Studios. So there's people with these blue wands. I'm holding a blue pen, and they're glowing, and they're like, right this way, showing us like, okay, VIPs right this way, the for all the athletes and the guests. And so we just followed the people holding the blue lightsabers all the way back until we get there. And they had the park closed down, and they had buffet. They had all these little buffet lines set up all over the park. And it was just really good hors d'oeuvres and appetizers. And they had in the walk-in, right? They had Trolls, they had Shrek, they had all the Universal characters. Minions, they had Minions, and they had a red carpet. They had a red carpet, Mark, that we were walking down, and they were dancing alongside the welcome, and they had American flags, and it was so cool. It was such a, we always sort of joke around about the walk-in sequence when it comes to whatever we're doing. Yeah. And it was such a cool walk-in. We go through the park, and then they have an amphitheater set up, and they have like a welcome. There's some people that talk, like I think the mayor and the local people from the local organizing committee got up there and talked. And they had our Olympic trials marathon logos on the big screens. And they had these cool glowing tables. It just felt special, right? And I was in line getting some, hors d'oeuvre meatballs. Meb right behind me, right behind me, and it was Sworn. And I just talked with him just for a little bit, and we're both like, getting little mini quiches and meatballs and little taco bites. And so that was cool. And then they had some attractions open for us. They had some attractions open for us. I rode, they had a Jimmy Fallon ride, which was like, remember like Back to the Future?
Yeah.
It was like a 3D ride, which is pretty cool. And we went on the Mummy. And it was kind of funny because like my wife's not a huge roller coaster person, but Sergio, Sergio and his wife, and so we were kind of hanging out with Sworn as well. And they had kind of sold it as kind of like, it's like Pirates of the Caribbean, kind of like, oh, you're just going to kind of like, it's going to be cool. It's going to be slow. It's more kind of like, chill. And we get in there, it's pretty intense.
The Mummy is not slow.
No, it's pretty intense, and it goes up and it goes backwards. You fall back into the tomb, and it's like, so we, it definitely startled, my wife and I, because I haven't been on the Mummy in years, or maybe even wasn't even in Universal when I was in high school. But, so that was kind of funny. They were kind of joking around with us because we were kind of screaming pretty loud. But, we did that one, and then we did a Minions ride, and it was just a great experience, man. Like it was VIP. It's like, it felt special. It felt like, they cared. It was like, because the Pro Bowl was the same weekend
in
Orlando.
Wait, the Pro Bowl happened this weekend?
Yeah, this past week.
Ain't nobody watched that. I didn't even know what happened.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly, right. It was a 2-hand touch football game, but anyways, so yeah, it was just really cool. It was a great atmosphere. And like we were, you mentioned, being out late and stuff, but it was like I didn't know what to expect, right? Because they had this athlete welcome. I'm like, what is it? And every athlete got a 1+1, right? So me and Krista could go. And then after, if you wanted more, like if I wanted to take somebody else, it was $250. And I was like, what are we doing? Because in my head, I kind of thought of just like one of those, canned, sort of athlete dinners that we've all been to in our whole like high school, college careers, right? Which are nice, but it's like $250, like that's not. And then I realized that it's like, man, they're going to close down the park for us. So it was great. That was really fun. They had food and we hung out, and that was really cool. That was a big surprise. And what I thought was kind of cool too, earlier that day on Thursday, is we had some people from Hoka pull up to our hotel. Ben Rosario came to our hotel and dropped off the new kits and some sweats, and we got the new Cielo X1s, which were just like released that day. And it was like,
would you say the Cielo X1, just for context, that's pretty much like the Hoka's version of like the Alpha Fly, right?
I haven't really had the opportunity to try the other brands, but I'm assuming based on how they look and their profile, they're that stack height, that high maximal cushioning,
Yeah.
lots of carbon plating. They kind of have that profile of the Alpha Fly and the other super shoes.
Conveyor belts.
Conveyor belts, man. So yeah, they're super responsive but yeah, those shoes were great. But it's another just like nice little touch of going to the trials was like Hoka could have easily said like, hey, meet us at this hotel, meet us at this Airbnb. We'll be handing out gear, right? Meet us at the Nas Elite Hotel. I would have been there. No problem, no complaints, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they pulled up to our hotel when Chris and I were having we were having lunch with Calvin, and they just, in the lobby, and they were just, hey, here you go. And they sat with us and hung out for a minute, right? Like not a long time, but they were like kind of debriefing. Like Jen, I don't know her exact like title, but her role is like, working with athletes. So she was giving us a lowdown on like the new shoes and the kind of world athletics sort of things with the uniform and some of the logos and stuff, and which like what we should wear for the race day, and just kind of just touching base. And that to me was kind of special too. That felt cool. And then
you get a nice check for qualifying. Woo!
Yeah,
we won't talk about that, but also get a nice, probably gonna get a new GoPro.
Probably gonna get a new GoPro, right?
A new drone.
My last one I launched into the ocean, but I got
really?
it back. Yeah, dude.
That's a story for another day, but
yeah. No, I got basically like Apple Care. It's fine. I got another one. Nice. But so that was cool. And then next day was bottle check. We had 6 personal bottles. I actually pre-decorated my bottles. At marathons, there's usually a room where you decorate your bottles, and it's full of arts and craft supplies. But I didn't want to I didn't want to deal with that. I want to take care of that beforehand. So my bottles were pre-decorated, and I just got regular bottles off of Amazon. They're just nothing cool.
Did you do the ketchup bottles?
Huh?
Did you do the ketchup bottle?
I didn't end up doing the ketchup bottles.
I didn't. I'm actually going to steal that from you. I'm doing the ketchup bottles.
You should. There are a lot of people doing ketchup bottles.
Oh, wow.
Like literally I saw a ketchup bottle on the course, like red, like not just like the generic clear, like food and beverage container. Like it was
like the red one at the restaurants.
The red one at the restaurants, right?
Yeah. Denny's.
Yeah. I just like, I liked the top being able to close it with a sports bottle. So I did I mixed up all of my bottles in the hotel. I did Morton 320 drink packets. I did my bottles 1 and 2 were non-caffeinated, and then 3, 4, 5, and 6 were all caffeinated. And also I did a Martin gel like 10 minutes before my race. And then also I did Generation UCAN like 45 minutes before the race. So, and I've practiced all of this. This is, I've practiced all of the fueling and the pre-race routine, and it ended up actually being really solid. I had no cramps. I had no intestinal distress. I was very like, it was, it really worked out well with the fueling plan, with my, with just drinking it. I will say though, I think Martin should come out with some flavors. It would be great to have some wild berry or something. It was because it was just tasting the same stuff every, it might have been nice to have a different flavor. So maybe I'll try some like 0 calorie like flavorings next time. I don't know. But the fueling was fine.
All right. I gotta ask this question though. What were your warm-up tracks prior to the race? Because you've gone through the motions.
Yes.
You've filled up your bottles. You got the kits.
Right.
Now there's probably you didn't start till 10.
Right.
So there's a good maybe 4 hours that you were up before the race?
Yep. Well,
when did it like first of all, when did it hit you that you're like, I'm racing the damn Olympic trials? And then
um,
what songs did you go for from the playlist?
I went because I was up for a while. So, I made my way through the Lane One playlist. I hit up Lose Yourself. I hit up Dreams and Nightmares. I hit up a little J. Cole. I hit up some Linkin Park, Faint, but also got into some, other Linkin Park songs.
Yeah, personal deep
Don't
cuts.
some deep cuts, some Don't Stay, some Animation, some Reanimation, Linkin Park, right? We're
Yeah,
talking 2001, 2002. And then also I got into my Rick Ross Tiny Desk, of course.
classic.
I like his So Sophisticated and and Don't F With Me, You Know I Got It with Jay-Z. And then also I've been listening to Jeezy Back. I think Yo Gotti's in that. I sent it to you a few weeks ago. I think it was just like it popped into my, when Spotify plays you some makes a playlist for you.
Yeah.
It's good, man. It was like head bobbing. And then also Travis Scott, The Plan, which was the theme song
Ooh.
for the 2020 action movie Tenet.
Yeah.
It's really good. So I made my way through some of that. And yeah, those are the highlights. I mean, there's always going to be other songs in there. Those are the songs that come off the top of my head. But yeah, when did it hit me that when I got to because I walked from my hotel because I didn't stay at the host hotel,
Yeah.
and my host hotel the hotel that I stayed at was like halfway between the host hotel and the start line. So I just ended up walking. I like to walk a little bit before races anyways, as you know.
Mm.
And I guess when it kind of hit me that it was the Olympic trials was when I went into the athlete's entrance. And like there was two entrances actually. There was there was one entrance which was like metal detector. And this, I have my athlete credential on, and this lady, like, very nice. She's just doing her job. She was like, "Oh, we got an athlete here," and she stops all the traffic, people walking on the sidewalk, right? Because I was just by myself because I walked. So she was used to having a lot of like people come off a shuttle bus, like a big, huge shuttle bus, and I'm
Yeah.
just solo by myself. And so she spends about a minute getting people and their strollers to stop. I'm like, I could just walk, ma'am. I could just walk. And she's being very nice. And so she stops the pedestrian traffic. I get through, and then she's nice. And then I go through the next gate, and there's like, it's like 4 cops and then 5 race people at this gate. And they're like, "Oh, hey, good morning. Good luck today." Cause I had my credential. And then, so I had to go through 2 checkpoints, and then I get to the athlete area. And then you just see, I mean, like kind of Boston, you see all the A-listers, man. You're seeing Rupp, you're seeing Chalimo, you're seeing Connor Mance, you're seeing, Clayton Young and Zach Panning and all these like people that are, on, you hear people talking about them. You see them on social media. You see them doing all their, stuff. Emily Sisson and Kira D'Amato, like it's just all A-listers, right? And then, you're just sitting down waiting just like everybody else. And I think that's when it kind of hit me. It's like how tight the athlete area was, and like how built up it was. They had multiple rooms. They had men's and women's rooms. They had medical. They had media. They had all that stuff like this, and
Yeah.
helicopters, multiple helicopters in the sky, and you hear the announcer getting the crowd hype, like a legit crowd, right?
Yeah.
This isn't just a couple of people like strewn about in Golden Gate Park. Like this is like crowds with barriers. So that's when it kind of hit me. It was like, oh man, this is legit.
Yeah. All right, so that's leading into the race. Now walk me through the race all the way
Mm-hmm.
through to the end, basically. I want to hear how that race played out.
Yeah.
I watched, unfortunately we didn't get a lot of screen time because they spend a lot of that time on that front pack, but followed it through all the way through the end.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get to see the details of it all other than the splits.
Right.
So walk me through how the race played out for you and like what your strategy was, where you found yourself early on. And yeah,
Yeah.
all of it.
So, as I shared, in the last couple episodes, I had a little bit of a bump in training and hiccups, and I tweaked my hamstring. So, I had to, back off, reevaluate, pivot. So my plan, I only was up to 35 miles a week going into this thing.
Jeez, man, that is wild.
35 miles a week, right? You're talking 26.2 miles for one race, and I've been doing just a little bit more than that in a whole week. And
Yeah.
I knew this. I knew this about myself. I knew, like, I knew that I hadn't done training that I had done before.
Yeah.
And the most intense workout I did was 4 times 2 miles, at 5:30, 5:25 pace. So there was a lot of reframing and pivoting. And in my head, I didn't say it, but I kind of knew it all along. I didn't want to like complain. Well, I have a hamstring. I don't want to complain about it. Right. I just wanted to make it happen. But in my head, I was like, probably going to be on the best day if the stars align and it's not too hot and I don't cramp, like, in the 221 to 224 range. Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I told myself internally. I didn't share that with anyone because you don't ever want to concede.
Yeah.
And you don't ever want to like take any options off the table. But I was like,
Yeah.
okay, let's go out and try 520 pace, 525. Sworn and Sergio were like going to do that as well. So, I get out there, first mile, dead on 520, and and I'm feeling good. I'm clicking off anywhere from 5:15s to 5:20s through about a mile 11. And I'm in, sometimes I'm in packs, sometimes people are taking off flying by me, but I'm feeling really good through 11 miles, like 10, 11 miles. I'm like in the back of my mind, I'm like, ooh, 220, 219 kind of sounds really good right now. But a mile 11, it started to kind of like the first phase of pain. That's when it was like when I started running 5:30s, 5:35s, and they felt like 5:15s. And it was like I would, be hitting my splits. I'd be, oh, that was a 5:34. It felt like a 5:10. And mile 15, 16. But I was able to maintain that till 20 miles, right? Like, so from 11 to 20 or so, I was still clicking off in the 5:30s, which is not anywhere close to what my PR is, but it's still serviceable. It's still, hey, we're moving here. But where it really started to deteriorate for me was in mile 20 and 21. Really, I started to just get tired. My legs started giving out. My legs and just my body gave out before my cardio did. Like I felt like I was fully aware, fully conscious, fully like thinking about what's going on, but I could feel my body just start to give out.
Yeah. That
And
muscular endurance.
yeah,
That
yeah.
mileage. Yeah.
Just the mileage, man. Like, you got so much of the training for the marathon, like 22 mile runs. You're just getting used to being on your feet for 2 hours, right?
Yeah. The
And even,
attrition.
yeah, exactly. Like, you're used to that pounding. And even if you're only running an easy long run but you're running for 2 hours and 20 minutes on a long run, your legs are still getting used to having to support your body weight for that long while running.
Yeah.
And mile 23, I had to actually fully stop in the middle of the course. I had to stop. I'll show you. I had to do one of these. I was running, right? I was running, and I was like, I had to do one of these where you stretch it out, right? And then I got up and it cramped up again. My hamstring cramped up really bad, right? I had to do one of those in the middle of the race, mile 23. It locked up, dude. I'm telling you. And it was my good hamstring. It wasn't even my bad hamstring. My bad hamstring. Hey, shout out Scott. Shout out Scott. My left hamstring was golden. Never even, but my good hamstring.
Believe it or not, this is my good hamstring.
This is my good. And it locked up. And I'm just like, I had to walk. And I'm like, I just saw everything flash before my eyes. I'm like, mile 23, bro. Like, we have 5K to go. Like, you have a high school cross country race ahead of you. You can do this. And
PA Garen Park.
yeah, exactly. Like, you can get through this.
Yeah.
And so I had to walk for a little bit and stretch it out, but it unlocked.
Yeah.
I mean, and then from there it was just kind of garbage time. I mean, I'll be honest, it was, I ran like 6 minutes for the rest of the miles, but I got to the finish line, and
Yeah.
I wasn't like too much of a hot mess, but there was a ton of carnage out there, man, especially where I was in Carnage Land, like,
Well,
in
what was
that
there? 100 dropouts or like 80 dropouts?
something like that, man. Like, there was a
What 238 started, and I think only like one or maybe like 250 started, and only like 130 something finished.
yeah, it was something ridiculous like that. And
Yeah.
and I finished strong. Like I told you, when you asked me what would a good race look like, it was a race where I felt like I was finishing strong and
Yeah.
respectable, and I feel like it was mission accomplished, right?
Yeah.
I feel like I was able to go out there and represent myself, my Aggies, my family, with pride and professionalism. And it wasn't, I did have to stop for a little bit, but it wasn't super dramatic. I mean, Galen also ran north of 6 minutes, his 23rd mile. So I mean, it was a lot of us out there were hurting.
Yeah, like you were dealt a pretty rough hand, but you played the hand that you got.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
you
know, I did. I played the hand, and one thing I didn't really share too much because I didn't want to dwell on it. I wanted to be like, but I really do think that, when I tweaked my hamstring in Tallahassee, I think it was a fairly significant injury. I think
yeah.
I was trying to convince myself that it wasn't, but even a week later, I couldn't run on it. Like, it was physically hurting, and for 5 days, it hurt to walk. Like, the flight home, sitting on it in the plane was painful. Like,
Yeah.
so I kind of just, like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, you can't really think about it. You have to be like, okay, let's get an appointment. Let's get in and see Scott. Let's get in the weight room. Let's move forward, right? So,
Yeah.
but you're right. I played the cards I was dealt as best I could. But yeah, I overall, like, was great. It was a great experience. I hit all my water. Like I said, hydration worked out well.
Are we
There's
gonna be
just
seeing are we gonna be seeing you make a run at LA 2028
We'll
once you get
see. It's a little
43 years
early.
old or 42 years
I'll
old?
be 42. We'll see. We'll see. We got a couple things to do between now and then. Um, but yeah, that was, that it was great, man. We had and shout out to just, I know I keep saying this, but, like, my friends and family flew out there,
Yeah.
and hung out,
Hey,
and,
hey, give your flowers real quick. Give your flowers to everybody that contributed.
exactly. So yeah, thank you to everybody who came out to Orlando, and, everyone else who also cheered from afar. It really helped. And I mean that. I mean that honestly. Like I said, when I was cramping up at 23 miles, I was like, I need to finish. I need to represent this movement that we've started, this energy, this positivity.
Yeah.
This is hopefully something that we can all, take with us and move forward, and hopefully bring some positivity and inspiration. So I think, again, bottom of the heart, thank you, everybody, including yourself, Mark. Like, I appreciate you texting me. You were, and you texted me like a couple days after too. You were like, how you doing, man? Like,
Yeah.
how you really doing? Because
Yeah.
after the race, I texted the group text. I texted my wife to let her know that I was alive. I
I
texted,
can't see or
I,
feel. Or what did you say? I
I,
can't see.
I couldn't see. So I just went back to the men's, like, athlete area, and by myself in a dark corner for like 20 minutes. I just sat there and just, like, I was like in a daze.
Yeah.
I like I said, I got my phone out. I texted people to make sure that they knew that I was alive. And I just sat there and just reflected on this, like, oh man, what did I just do? Like, what happened?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a trip. But yeah, thank you to everybody for all this support. In terms of the race up front, and you have any more questions in my experience?
I think we covered a lot of it. Really just wanted to give an idea of what it looks like to qualify, what it looks like having Hoka backing you, what the actual race itself looked like. I think we could kind of at this point pivot over to the race as a whole. Just talk about it.
Yeah, so I mean I was in the race, so I had to go back and rewatch it. So I mean, I think Zach Panning made the men's race. I think he really went hard from mile 5 to 20.
Yeah, I gotta just say, give shout out to my D2 people. Like Zach Panning has been somebody I competed with him in college where we overlapped for maybe about 3 years. Dude has always been a grinder. He wasn't one of those pretty runners. And when I'm talking about pretty runners, you know, the ones that float.
Yeah.
The ones that kind of like you see them like also another D2 runner. I think he got 23rd, Sydney Gittabooty. Like he's one of those runners that you can tell he has the talent. He floated easy in high school, floated easy in college. Like the dude looks smooth when he runs. Zach Panning has always been one of those dudes where I believe he has a track 5K and 10K under his belt, national championship in D2. But a lot of the times in D2, he was one of those guys that finished high, but never quite won. He was a runner up quite a few times. I don't think he ever got across, but the dude was always top 5, top 8 once it came down to 5K, 10K outdoor, once it came down to cross country. So honestly, really seeing that dude, he was one that I had an eye on because I've been in a lot of races with him too. He regularly does club cross. He's always pushing the pace there. Where we competed, I think he got second the year me and you got 7th and 9th. He also went to Worlds and got 12th, which is why I was shocked that people didn't have him on their radar to make the team. If anybody wants to look at marathon buildups, I would say his on Strava. It's all public. He's super open about his posting. The dude is a really gritty runner. And to see him take it from mile 5, my opinion, I'm going to be critical. I think that was a little premature. I think he got a little ahead of himself, which ended up paying the price. But at the end of the day, he didn't have the standard. I don't know that he had the ranking, but he did get 12th in the world. So maybe the 448 was a confidence point. Rallied, made a 444 mile. And dude raced hard. You got to give him his flowers there. And on the women's side, the 3rd place finisher, Dakota Lindworm, she is also a D2 runner. And that is something that you're seeing, something that we've talked about historically, is that in the US, there's an absurd number of really good marathoners that are blue collar, that are D2, that know how to hurt. It's always those runners that aren't the prettiest because we've seen guys like Chris Derrick, who was a blue chip in high school, college.
Yep.
We've seen other runners make those jumps to the marathon, even to a degree. Mo Farah, yes, he did have a Chicago win. Yes, he did have the European record for a while, but he didn't quite have the success that a lot of these other grinders have.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those pretty runners that don't transition that well. And that's because the marathon is such a dog event. And I feel like that was a lot of what we saw in the trials. Connor Manson, Clayton Young, those guys are dogs. Clayton Young got his national title in NCAA in Texas in hot and humid 90-degree weather. Connor Mance makes me want to quit running because of how painful he looks. If I watched Connor Mance run and they're like, this is the sport you have to do, I'd be like, don't sign me up because that guy looks terrible when he runs. He has knock knees. His face looks like he's in pain from mile 1, but guess what? The guy's a dog.
Yeah. He can go out there and suffer.
Yeah, he can hurt.
Yeah.
Same thing with Zach Panning. He looked like he could hurt.
Yeah.
Who ended up getting 3rd? Leonard Career. He was 4th in 2020.
Yeah. Lenny, dude, Lenny, you know, he had such a heroic race too, because he actually like he was like he faded, and then he came back, right? He dropped, I want to say like in mile 23, 24, he was running like 5:19, 5:20.
Yeah.
But Elkanah Cabet was coming back. Zach Panning was coming back. and he just kind of rallied like a 5:09 last mile or something like that. Like he had already been out of it in 5th or 6th place,
Yeah.
and like people started coming back, and he just kind of rallied a little bit. So what I really like about Career's race is that like he didn't really give up, right?
Yeah.
He didn't give up, and he kind of just muscled his way to the line, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
I feel like Manson Young already kind of started their cool down in mile 20, 25, 26.
Yeah.
I think Career, he just kind of finessed his way in. It wasn't even like like CJ, like his last, he had the last fastest mile. He had the fastest last mile of anyone in the field. He was running people down, and Career kind of snaked his way through to the. Hopefully he gets in too, because he doesn't have the World A, so
Yeah.
he's going to have to rely on the World Athletics rankings. But he has a pretty strong ranking, so I hope he gets in. But yeah, overall it was solid. The women's race, Fiona O'Keefe, I think, was on a lot of people's sort of dark horse list. She's talented. She's from Stanford.
Oh, yeah. I remember that girl when she was in high school.
Yeah.
I think she was from the Davis area.
Yeah, she's from
Or
Davis, and I think
yeah.
she's relatively blue chip, right? Like
Oh, for
she's
sure.
yeah.
She was crushing everybody in high school. She was,
Yeah.
like, probably, what, 2 to Sarah Baxter at the time?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Like, yeah. So,
Stanford grad.
so she's, Stanford, you're not scoring on Stanford's women's team without being, blue chip. And, I think I think she wasn't necessarily on people's like top 3, but it makes sense,
No.
you know. But there was a lot of withdrawals on both the men's and the women's, but like
Yeah.
Molly Seidel and was it Bates?
Yeah, Emma Bates.
Emma Bates
She was a heavy
withdrew.
favorite.
Kira had dropped out.
Yeah, who else?
Uh,
What was her name? Oh, I'm forgetting. She was the one that trains in Kenya.
oh, it wasn't Rotich. She
No,
finished.
no, 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 no,
She
no.
actually got 5th. Yeah, no, Carolyn Rotich got 6th.
It starts with
But
an S. Why am I forgetting? Her last name starts with an S. It's like Sena or something like that.
Betsy Sena. Yeah,
Betsy Sena.
yeah.
Yes.
She dropped to 22
She
miles.
Yeah, she was another one that was a favorite to make the team. But I think what's crazier about Fiona O'Keefe, like, making the team, not only is she won the damn thing in her
Yeah,
debut.
course
And what
record or trials record.
Yeah, and wasn't her half PB like a 69 mid?
Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you have that written down. Yeah, 69 mid. And to go out and to run that twice, and she
yeah.
won controlled. I remember me and Blake were talking about it. Shout out Blake Molly again. Me and Blake were talking about it mid-race, and it's like, yo, she made a move at like mile 21, and I was like, she's never felt the deep waters yet. Like, she's never been in the middle of the ocean like that. Like, she might explode.
Mm-hmm.
And you're watching the splits go, you're watching the splits click, and it's like, yeah, this girl's not coming back.
Yeah.
Like, she's not coming back at all.
No, she had a special day. I think Emily Sisson ran safe.
She
I
ran very well. Yeah, she
you know,
had to make the team.
I
Yeah.
think, she might be in a place in her, career where she can see the trials as more of a qualifying event to focus on the Olympics. She's obviously very talented. She's good at heat running. Remember in 2021 at the trials in the 10K?
Yeah, and she crushed
She
everybody.
crushed everybody.
Crushed,
And,
yeah.
classic, hey, let's run the 10K at 2 p.m. And she just crushed everybody. And, so I think she has enough in the tank to go out there and play safe. And then, Dakota Lindworm from another D2.
Yeah, she's one I have nothing to talk about because she shocked everybody.
Shocked everybody.
Shocked everybody.
And like I think because was Panning a national champ
In D2, yeah.
and D2?
National champ, I believe 5K, 10K.
I think the best Dakota did was like 6th in the 10K. which is a solid performance probably like at the time, but like that's not really putting you on anyone's short list to make the Olympics. And she went out there and she did it. I think she works full time as she's like paralegal or something.
She has to work full time. Like,
yeah,
I'd be total, no offense, but I'd be totally shocked if she didn't, because like looking at her personal best, this is on her World Athletics page. Like looking at her personal best, her 5K PB is listed here on the road 16:10. Her half marathon, okay, she threw down in Houston 69:30, but like her marathon in Chicago this past year 2:24. So it's like, okay, she's a great runner, but like, maybe on the qualifying list, she's barely cracking the top 10. But to go out there and actually make the team, and where's she based out of? Minnesota?
Yeah.
Bro, my agency's based in Minnesota. You cannot run there outside for 4 months out the year.
No. Downtown Minneapolis, the buildings are all connected via tunnels, so you don't have to go outside.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, you're having to train on treadmills or indoor facilities, right?
And then even during their quote unquote nice weather, I went there in September and I see all these people running around with bottles in their hands. And I'm like, NARPs. Like, they're NARPs. Like, I'm an elite runner. I don't need a water bottle. I'm the one person out there without a water bottle. Dude, I legitimately like died on that run.
It's probably hot and humid, right?
Hot and humid. And that's beautiful weather for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for her to qualify out of Minnesota, I don't know very much about her. And like you said, she might be a paralegal. I haven't done any research on that, but she's probably working full time. Super blue chip, man.
Yeah.
I mean, not blue chip, blue collar.
Blue collar. Yeah. Like, and the fact that, just the names that she's beating, who they wake up every day and they're professional athletes,
Yeah. Like they get paid to do this. They're doing altitude stints.
Yeah. They have altitude camps,
They're napping during the day.
Mm-hmm.
They're, they probably have everything paid for by their sponsor.
Yeah.
Like that's always impressive to me. I always got to tip my hat off to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So shout out to our 6 men and women that we're sending to Paris to represent us. That's going to be exciting. A lot of people are high on Fiona O'Keefe medaling too.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the Molly Seidel hype, Seidel effect. I think medaling that's going to be tough because this year's going to be insanely competitive. Not want to knock her or anything, but she ran. Shout out to her running 2:22, but you got athletes right now running 2:14, 2:15 in their sleep. It's one of those things where we always want to give the American the puncher's chance because we have main character syndrome, but we got like Helen Obiri. I think G'day probably from Ethiopia is going to do it. Who's the gal that just set the world record in the marathon from Ethiopia as well? We got handful of girls running 2:14, 2:15.
Yep. So you're just, so our shot is going to be the grittiness, right? It's like, if it's hot, if it's hilly, it's not paced, the pacers really do help. I mean,
oh, for sure. You don't have to think,
you're talking 4 or 5 seconds a mile, even of benefit there for pacers, but you're not going to have that. Right. So, I think that's where we are. I think, in the marathon for you, like you said, we are the underdog. Typically Americans are in the marathon. And I think we like that,
Yeah. But all right, I see we're at about an hour 10.
Yep.
So I just want to cap things off. I think we had a lot to talk about today. We can talk for days on these topics, but especially with individual athlete performances, that's something that we might have to circle back on next week as things start to slow down. But next week we will have USA indoors. We'll have Milrose. Or in 2 weeks, we'll have a lot more to talk about. So subjects might die, but for the sake of time, I just want to ask Phil, what's next for you, man? Like you just ran the trials. We're about 5 days out, 6 days out.
Yeah.
When you just last ran. What you got next on the calendar? Have you thought about that at all? When are you going to start training again? Do you have any goals?
Yeah, I'm excited because I learned so much. I learned so much about training and like injuries and just what needs to happen, that I'm actually super motivated to get out there and start training again. I don't think I recovered properly after Houston last year, because I finished and I just was thrown into coaching, head coach high school track and field, which was a lot of work, and
Yeah.
I didn't make a lot of me time last spring. So I think kind of the startings of my hamstring started then. But I just really want to double down on recovery. I want to start. I'm going to take 7 days off at least, and then maybe even 10, and just start running and starting to feel good. Build up some miles. So I'll probably start running next week sometime. But in terms of races, I don't know. I want to get something on the calendar. I thought maybe like think about grandma's in June, half marathon, marathon. Things like Chicago and New York start kind of popping into my head. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do another marathon this year. Just because it does take a lot of effort, but I want to get back out on the roads. I want to do some PA, like 5K 10K races. I want to get back out there. I want to put something on the calendar.
Yeah.
I hope maybe like a June half, maybe a May June half. And then look at something maybe in the fall too. Maybe start looking at something in the fall. So I don't have anything concrete, because a lot of it's going to depend on how I'm feeling. But I want to get back out there. Like, I want to put something on the calendar. I want to get healthy. I want to get in the gym and get the hamstrings just rock solid. I want to be able to do workouts with you and Silas where I don't have to be scared of running a 32-second 200, right? I want to be able to do, I want to feel good about doing 200s on Wednesday nights. Like, I don't want to be scared of that. And so, yeah. Beta breakers. Yep. That's next. That's the next. That's next. That's definitely on the schedule. But yeah, my question for you is, when are you debuting in the marathon?
Ooh, I have right now penciled in fall 2025.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Like a New York or a Chicago or
I guess winter. That's just kind of what we
CIM,
call CIM will be my first one.
or Houston's good too. I like Houston.
Yeah. I'm thinking CIM just because of the time I want to run. I have a time in my head that I think I can debut at that I won't shot call. But my debut marathon, because I've thought about this a lot. It's something that's in my head. It's something that I've circled on my calendars, LA 2028. That's gonna be all my eggs in that basket. So like we said, we're a ways from there. But everything I'm doing is in preparation for that. Getting faster on the track is in preparation for that. Learning how to train correctly is in preparation for that. Reading countless books, reading countless articles on training. As you guys know, I'm obsessed with this. Is all in preparation to take a real swing in 2028. But ideally, my debut marathon in 2025 would be about having a good experience. It wouldn't be so much about the time. The time would be reflected in, having a right buildup. I probably wouldn't swing right away for 120 miles a week. I probably would start with 100, 110 and just seeing what works. What days of the weeks can I push? Fueling, hydration, gels, like, okay, working on things like in the gym, where's my weight at? Like, just getting all like basically creating like an SOP, a standard operating procedure
Yeah.
on the marathon would be
That's real.
yeah, it would be my goal for my first one. Having a good experience, even if I wound up not running as fast as I wanted to on the debut, it's like, okay, did you finish? Yes. Okay, check one. Did you close strong? Okay, check two. What went wrong? What could we change for the next build? What can we work on? What are some things we can tinker with? What are some areas you can be better in? What are some things that you might be able to eliminate next time? And overall, just be able to analyze those things and kind of take a real approach to it. Or so then after that, I can really start taking swings at times and put myself in a position to create some longevity in the sport, give myself a real fighting chance in 2028, give myself a put myself in the best position possible.
Yeah, man. I think that's great. I think I'm having a multi-year
Yeah.
plan, and I think those are all really good things, really good details to focus on. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to your debut. I think you got a good, I mean, just seeing your, San Jose half and just how, you are able to, in our tempos and training runs, you are able to be reserved and get in the quality volume. I think the marathon's going to suit you very well.
Unfortunately, I wish I can be, 1500 runner, 5K runner, but I do think the marathon is where I'm gonna be able to take my most strides. I think that's where I'm gonna be able to have the biggest impact for the level I want to compete at and the level that I feel I should be at. For how much work and how much effort I put into this, I do think the marathon is my best case scenario to try to compete at the highest level I possibly could, because I don't do this for my health. Every time people ask me like, do like, so you're a runner, like, do you enjoy that? For me, my go-to line is always, I don't think being this skinny looks cool. Like, I don't think looking like this is cool.
Yeah.
Like, if it
Yeah.
were up to me, dude, I'd be jacked.
Yeah.
But I don't do, like I said, I don't do this for my health. I do this because I want to compete at the highest level. I'm sure you could relate to that too, in the sense of
Yeah.
we don't. I always frame it this way: I don't run, I train.
Right.
So yeah, long answer for 2025
I
is
love
when
it.
I plan to debut.
I love it. Yeah. Can't wait. Can't wait. That's gonna
Yeah,
be a big fall, because we have the world championships in cross country in Tallahassee in 2026, and I'm gonna be masters.
shoot. Don't make me change. Don't make me change.
So yeah, I'm excited, man. We got like multiple years,
Yeah,
right? Like I feel I'm already thinking about the fall of this year. It's weird. It's
yeah,
so anyways, great episode. We got a lot to talk about.
yeah.
We had some good discussions there. So anything else?
No, I think we're good. An hour 20. Geez, man. I feel
Yeah.
like we didn't even touch on everything.
No, we didn't. But
Yeah,
hey, that was a good episode.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the Lane One Talk Show for more episodes on all platforms. See ya.